What's up, everybody? This is Justin Flinner coming to you live from Northern Virginia with the Justin Flinner Podcast by My Metro Medicine. In this week's episode, I bring you the podcast version of our recent Ask the Expert interview with Mina Larson, CEO of NCCAOM, the National Certification Commission on Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, which is located in Washington, D.C. It is also often referred to as the Board of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. So for the general public, especially for those of you who receive acupuncture treatments regularly, you need to be familiar with this organization to ensure that you are receiving treatment from a highly qualified practitioner. And for me, this was a fantastic opportunity because as a licensed and board-certified acupuncturist myself, I got an up-close look at what the organization is doing to ensure our medical profession is not only practiced safely and effectively, but also to see what projects they are currently working on to keep our profession growing in a modern and more integrative way. So I would like to thank both Mina Larson and her colleagues at the NCCAOM for allowing this interview to take place, and I want all of you to stay tuned for part 2, where Mina and I will discuss what the NCCAOM is working on to help acupuncture schools and their students succeed. To learn more about the organization, you can visit their website at nccaom.org. And to watch the full interview on YouTube, just search for our Ask the Expert show on the My Metro Medicine YouTube channel. Or you can just follow the link in this episode description. So we would love to also know what you thought of this podcast version and the full interview on YouTube. So leave us a comment wherever you're listening from or wherever you're watching, and let us know what you thought. And we hope that overall that you enjoyed this interview with Mina, and be sure to check out our other audio versions of our Ask the Expert interviews right here on the Justin Flinner Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and have an awesome day. Welcome to the Ask the Expert show by My Metro Medicine. I am your host, Justin Flinner, and I am here today at the National Certification Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, otherwise referred to as the NCCAOM. And I am here to have a nice chat with the new CEO, Mina Larson. So thank you so much for being here, Mina. I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much, Justin.
And
thank you for having me here.
Of course, it's my pleasure. So I wanted to give you the opportunity in this new format for you to provide a welcome message to all of the viewers on social media and whoever else will be viewing this in the future. So would you like to say a few words as the new CEO?
Absolutely, thank you. I'm very excited to be serving as the Chief Executive Officer for the NCCAOM. I have served NCCAOM for 16 years, and I'm looking forward to increasing my capacity by providing additional services and products for our diplomates, our students, our regulatory body agencies, our faculty members, and many of our other constituents that we serve every day. I'm very excited to be reporting to you back here from Washington, D.C., our headquarters, and where we originally started many, many years ago. And I welcome your feedback and work partnering with all of you to make improvements and better all of our services. Thank you.
Of course. So I'm going to ask you some questions,
Sure.
a little bit about NCCAOM,
Sure.
and of course about you. So that's where I go next, which
Absolutely.
is, why don't we go before NCCAOM, or at least your role here as CEO. Can
Yes.
you tell us a little bit about your background and where you've come from and how you got here?
Absolutely. My background started in regulatory affairs and politics. I was a journalist in training. Writing is my love, and I decided that rather than write the news, I want to make the news. So I started working for members of the legislature as well as Governor Wilson in California. I really learned the ropes of legislative and regulatory activities while I was there. And I also worked in the press office. So that really built the foundation of communications, public relations, law, regulatory affairs, and gave me a solid background to be able to serve NCCAOM. So upon my move from California to Washington, D.C., I wanted to shift gears and move myself away from politics and move towards serving a nonprofit association.
Mm-hmm.
And acupuncture and oral medicine was a true love of mine. I had suffered a health crisis, and I sought acupuncture. I actually went onto the NCCAOM website and found an NCCAOM board certified acupuncturist here in the DC area. And she really helped me with my medical crisis, and it opened my eyes to how integrative medicine, especially acupuncture, can help, and how little information was out there to patients about acupuncture back in the early 2000s when I was seeking information. So when I saw the ad in Washington Post for acupuncture, for a position related to Director of Communications for NCCAOM, I applied. So 16 years later, I'm still here. I worked in one of my benefits of serving with NCCAOM for all these years is I've really learned every aspect of the organization in terms of regulatory affairs. I've partnered with many state associations and regulatory bodies to ensure that the standards for NCCAOM as well as the scope are kept to a level that ensures competency. I've provided lots of resources to schools and other stakeholders regarding NCCAOM. We've made significant improvements under the leadership of Dr. Ward Cook in terms of building our examination structure as well. So I'm really proud to have used my time here at the NCCAOM to really understand not just what it means to work for a credentialing body, but to really understand and know the profession as well.
Yeah, the organization's been around for quite a while now,
Yes.
and it's grown so much.
Yes,
so
it has.
Can you tell us a little bit about, now that you're in the role of CEO, where NCCAOM has come from and
Yes.
where it's now going to?
Absolutely. NCCAOM was founded in 1982 by a group of dedicated practitioners. In fact, it was founded around the same time as NCCIAOM, the membership organization, Council of Colleges, the organization that represents the schools, as well as ACOM. We all came together at the same time. And at the time, NCCAOM was tasked with ensuring competencies for entry-level standards. That has continued. But there's been significant improvements made in our examination process in terms of ensuring that we move from a comprehensive examination structure to a modular examination structure that better really tests the different domain areas for each individual practitioner to ensure that safety and other important areas have been met. That was a major, yes, that was a major progress for us in 2004 when we moved from comprehensive to modular. And then the Oriental Medicine certification was introduced in 2004 as well, to give acupuncturists the choice to be certified in Oriental Medicine, which is an all-encompassing certification versus individual certification. However, we did not eliminate the individual acupuncture or herbology certifications for those who wanted to keep it that way. But one of the most significant achievements that I've seen with the NCCAOM is in terms of the services we've been able to provide for our diplomates. And one of them is media relations and marketing. When I first entered into the scene, I realized a lot of the focus on acupuncture stories had medical acupuncturists or physicians or even chiropractors involved. We've changed all that. We went ahead and hired a public relations company to really represent NCCAOM certified acupuncturists and licensed acupuncturists to ensure that the media is covering us. We're the ones that have the best trained education and hours than anyone else out there practicing in other health.
And that really helps because a lot of the acupuncturists are not really sure as to how to get the word out for themselves.
Exactly.
And given that they have now gone through the process of achieving the certification and become board certified,
Absolutely.
which is ultimately what they're
Yes.
hoping to achieve, then
Yes.
you provide that for them. So
Absolutely. NCCAOM National Board Certified Acupuncturist is a term we just registered with the U.S. Patent and Trade Office. This is a way for acupuncturists that are certified through us to really be proud of their designation and to use that. I've often noticed that a lot of our diplomates do not use that. They use their LAC or others, but they don't use NCCAOM. It's very important that they do, because you want to let the public know about what the certification means to others. Other healthcare practitioner certification is very important in the Western medicine world. And it's just as important in what we do in terms of East Asian medicine.
yeah, for many people it's just a few letters after the name,
Yes.
but obviously you are trying to change that
Yes.
as an organization to try to make sure the public understands and that the professionals also understand that this means something more than just we've achieved this and we put a few hours in to get there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I want to ask about NCCAOM. Why the move from Jacksonville to Washington D.C.? It's a great city. I mean,
Absolutely.
I live here now,
Yes.
you're here now, of course, so
Yes.
why the move from there? I know a lot of people are curious.
Well, I'm glad you asked. I've always been from the Washington, D.C. area for the past 20 years. And when I first started, our office was in Old Town, Alexandria. And that when we first actually incorporated, we were in D.C. We were still incorporated in D.C.
Okay.
We made the move to Jacksonville back in 2007 for economic reasons. We had an opportunity to buy a building, but after the 10 years have gone by, and I continued to stay in D.C. and work, as in a telecommuting arrangement, we realized the importance of coming back to our roots in Washington, D.C. And that has to do with really streamlining our process, taking our process and making it online, allowing some of our employees to work virtually, and then really bringing the talented association management pool that is in D.C. and recruiting from there to really make improvements in customer service. And the third important part is advocacy. And again, us being the nation's capital and working with advocate experts and government relations staff, which we have been doing,
Right.
it's really made a difference in ensuring that regulators understand and know about certification and also about our profession.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, moving to DC, I mean, a lot of people, number one, they may not even known that
Yes.
the original location was in this area,
Yes,
and
it
then
is.
to Jacksonville. So many
Yes.
people think, well, why from Jacksonville? And I would assume the move to Jacksonville was more weather related. It's
Well,
nice close to the beach.
Right. Well, also, I think we wanted to have an opportunity to own our own building and have our own
Right.
headquarters. We really have taken, from a budgetary standpoint, we've taken those funds in terms of having a bigger office to having a smaller presence, but really making improvements in staff and giving some of that back to our diplomats and teacher service.
And it sounds
Right.
as though, I mean, even though there's a reduction in like the physical size
Yes.
of the building, is obviously, but you're moving
Yes.
here, you're having a more powerful presence here in the location that can actually where it can make more of a difference.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
So my next question is that many people view the NCCAOM as just like a testing recertification
Yes.
organization, because that's one of the hoops, so to speak, that they
Yes.
must jump through in order to achieve that and
Yes.
then to receive licensure.
Right.
So could you define the role of NCCAOM and tell the viewers what NCCAOM is doing to protect the licensure of acupuncture as well as Oriental medicine professionals?
NCCAOM, our mission, first of all, is public safety and ensuring that we're meeting those standards through our competency, through our entry-level exams, as well as continued competency through our recertification process. But we're not just a testing organization, we're a lot more than that. We have a unique partnership with all of the states that require NCCAOM certification or exams. Right now, we have 46 states plus the district right here that require either our exams or full certification. And many of them do actually require maintenance of certification. So we have that partnership, and we constantly make sure that we provide and become a resource to those states so that they can rely on us. Not just a financial burden, but also the ensuring that these practitioners have met the competencies for safe practice. But as you mentioned, Justin, we also do a lot more than that. With the fees that are that we collect from examination and recertification and applications, we use all of that towards ensuring that we have the right staff and products and services for our diplomats. Some of the work that we're doing in advocacy and bringing on experts in government relations is that kind of work that we're doing. And many people ask, well, why is a certification organization doing that? How come, it should be a professional association? Well, we are doing that to make sure that our NCCAOM diplomats are recognized and that we see the threat of physical therapists and nurses and others that are much more, have much lower educational standard and assessment. We need to ensure that every single one of our NCCAOM diplomats are set up for success. We also want to make sure that we're providing jobs for our diplomats, because this is what we're listening to them, and we want to help them when they're finishing school and they're struggling through all that there are. We want to help.
How is the NCCAOM doing that for the professionals? In
how-
terms of like
yes.
providing opportunities
Right.
for jobs?
Yes.
What steps are you taking?
Number one is by working with the federal government to make sure that acupuncturists, licensed and NCCAOM certified acupuncturists, are being required and included. That's opening jobs, like the work that we did with the VA.
Right.
And the work that we're going to continue to do with other agencies. Also working with third-party payers. A lot of insurance companies come to us now. We're getting a large increase of calls from insurance companies that are now requiring NCCAOM. Before, there was either medical acupuncturists that were being required,
Right.
or there were no criteria. This is very important because the federal government insurance companies, hospitals, and healthcare systems rely on national standards. They're not going to go from state to state to state with all the different scopes of practice and licensing requirements to set up requirements. They rely on us. That's what happens in other healthcare.
You're trying to
Yes.
build a bridge between obviously from the national standpoint as
Yes.
well as the state level to
Yes.
ensure that each state hopefully eventually
Yes.
will require that kind of certification
Yes.
as well as at a national level we can
Yes.
understand that
Yes.
the reason as to why. So
Absolutely.
can you talk a little bit about some of the new initiatives? So you mentioned the VA,
Yes.
That's the good starting point,
Yes.
but I know Medicare is another one that
Yes.
we're looking into now.
Yes, we submitted, our advocacy team has submitted comments for CMS. CMS has been tasked with conducting a study for lower back pain for seniors. And this is the first study of its kind for the field of acupuncture. We want to make sure that acupuncture, as performed by licensed and certified acupuncturists, are being recognized. The providers are our people and not MDs and others that are doing acupuncture. So we're involved in that, as well as we really want to emphasize that like the Department of Defense and the military, which is now centralizing its healthcare into one, that we are also making sure that acupuncturists have an avenue to be hired within the military, as well as our status is increased in the military. That happened in the VA, and we're very proud of the work that was done, not just by NCCAOM, but many pioneers in the field that have helped with that. But we need to have that happen also with the military as well. It's very, very important.
So in the VA, where would one enter? What's the level?
Yes. So right now within the VA, if you're hired as an acupuncturist, you enter at a GS 9 or 12 status, depending on your education, your background, where you're coming from. And that's a big achievement from GS 8. So we're very proud of that. And again, that was a collaborative effort on several associations as well as NCCAOM that helped with that.
Yeah, and that's a big one. And then
Yes.
Medicare is a new one, right?
Medicare is a new one. It's going to take a while. Medicare isn't an instant outcome. It's going to take several years for us to be able to provide information. And when I mean us, I mean the industry, profession. There's a lot of great work that's being done by some of the state associations and as well as the ASA and others involved in that. Providing that information and collaborating together. Collaboration is a very important concept in our profession, and we must collaborate. There's no time for fractions right now. As the medicine is increasing every single day, and consumer use is increasing, the profession must be working together to continue its increase. We're not a modality, we're a profession.
Right, and the collaboration effort is like the integrativeness of practitioners working together with other practitioners.
Absolutely.
So it's essential for where
Yes.
medicine is going.
Absolutely.
And obviously you're trying to follow those strings,
Yes.
each one with physical therapists,
Yes.
with chiropractors, etc.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Are there any events that are coming up where people could come and learn a little bit more about what the NCCAOM is doing?
Yes.
Any of the new initiatives? Can you tell us about them?
Absolutely. First of all, this weekend we're doing an event in PCOM New York and also PCOM Chicago following Monday on the September 14th, and then also on the 16th where we're going to be giving information. I will be at the New York event to provide information to our many wonderful students and faculty members of PCOM and alumni, and I'm going to be continuing to do that with schools. I'm working on making some, being available at some of the California schools. We've already done some information with Florida schools, but my initiative as a new incoming CEO is to attend school events and have as many faculty, students, as well as alumni there to be able to answer questions and just to listen, to hear what our stakeholders want. We also just did a survey. I'm very excited to have said that we sent out a diplomate satisfaction survey. We really want to hear from our diplomates about what's working, what's not working, what kind of services they would want from us, and under our structure, what we can do to best meet their needs, under what we are, or under our ability. So
And
I'm very excited about that.
I must admit, I did receive that survey, but
Wonderful.
I have yet to complete it, so
Well,
I
we're
am
looking
guilty,
forward to
but
having you
you
complete
will
it.
have my results,
Thank
my
you.
responses soon. So
Thank
for
you.
those of you out there are licensed acupuncturists, make sure you check your email to make sure that you actually find that survey and complete it. So
Thank you.
let's finish with at least this section of the interview, and let's see, we have some upcoming events, we
Yes.
have some new initiatives,
Yes.
and I think that now we could probably move into some questions for some acupuncturists, what the NCCAOM can do for
Sure.
acupuncturists.
Absolutely.
So the next section of questioning I want to go into is about NCCAOM and what the organization does for acupuncturists. So let me ask that first. What does the NCCAOM actually do for acupuncturists?
Thank you for asking that. This is a question that many of our diplomates are unfamiliar with, which is why I wanted to have an opportunity to talk a little bit about what we do. First of all, if you're an NCCAOM diplomat, you must make sure that you're in our directory. We have a directory of Find a Practitioner, and this is where we promote you as a diplomat. So we have information about your practice, your website. You can put your photo up there, and we're going to actually be doing more to enhance this, to better showcase our practitioners to everyone out there. And we get calls all the time from people who want someone in a particular area, and we refer. That's number one. Number two is that we have an events calendar where we provide information about all of the different events that are happening that NCCAOM is involved with, or just information that would be of use to our diplomates. And again, we have an NCCAOM booth, and we travel all over, and we might be coming to a location near you, so we want to make sure that you check out that event calendar. We also have an excellent PDA directory. We don't often talk about this, but if you are in the process of recertifying and you want to find out what's the latest, greatest course that's out there, all of our PDA approved providers, which they go through a very nicely set group of standards, they're all featured on this directory, so that if you want to find an online course or a course about ethics, it's all contained in there. And then also, we are really out there, as I mentioned, in terms of advocacy, to promote you and to make sure that when someone is seeking an acupuncturist, that they come to us and they hire NCCAOM certified licensed acupuncturist, where someone who does not have those trainings. We're really putting a lot of effort into making sure that the education's out there in terms of public education, to let everyone know, the media, other healthcare practitioners, others, about what it means to be NCCAOM certified, the education and standards, as compared to others that have much, much abbreviated training. So that's what we do. From a legislative standpoint, we're also very involved in making sure that we're there with testimony letters when we have situations such as the dry needling situation with physical therapists. We're there to provide information and become a resource to our diplomates as well as state associations.
That's obviously the advocacy part.
Right, and we have an excellent federal toolkit that's available on our advocacy section. This toolkit has information whether you want to be doing some grassroots lobbying within your local legislative body, or you need information about your certification, or you're having a meeting with someone that you want to showcase certification. This toolkit is available on our advocacy website.
That's nice.
And we actually have a feature where you can go in and through a legislative tracking system find your local representatives as well.
That's really good.
Yes.
I know that the being able to put in your own information
Yes.
and finding that on NCCAOM, I remember going
Yes.
to that for the first time years ago. And
Yes.
how beneficial that was, at
Yes.
least for me, and
Yes.
I knew that people would eventually, if they weren't already, go to that website to
Yes.
try to see where can I find a certified
Right.
or certified, whatever
Yes.
word they were using to find me.
Absolutely.
In addition to, I know you also help them with building websites. There's that option
Yes.
on there as well.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. Many people, many of our diplomats don't realize that, but we have a company that you can actually build a free website. And then if you want to build more, bells and whistles on it, you can, there's some enhanced features that you can add on. And again, these are all the services that NCCAOM is providing to really empower their diplomates. And we're looking for you to be able to provide us feedback. If there's something that you don't see, you want to see offered, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, and that,
Yes.
I mean, that's a great thing to offer, and there are so many more companies out there that are also helping with websites. But
Yes.
NCCAOM obviously really targets it,
Yes.
helps you build it. You already
Absolutely.
have the information in the system.
Yes.
And then offering CEU. So
Yes.
it's like a hub.
It's like a
for
one-stop shop. Yes.
everything that the acupuncturists
Yes.
are needing, at least to get started. And once
Absolutely.
their business is bloomed, then they
Yes.
can take it off in any direction.
Absolutely.
So-
And I want to emphasize the importance of the media. We often forget how important it is to work with the media and to build with them that we are the experts in the industry. We also have a media toolkit that's downloadable from our website that you can use if you wanted to do a press release or you wanted to find information about certification for the media as well.
So a press release for the individual, for their clinic,
Yes.
or
Like, for example, if you just became recently certified,
Okay.
or let's say you want to write a press release about an event. We're very involved in AOM Day coming up October 24th. Don't forget, we have aomday.org website. We want
That's
you
right.
to go on that website. If you have an event, we want to hear about it. This is where we promote you. We actually do a nationwide press release to all of the media entities in the whole country about AOM Day. And this is where the spotlight comes back on you to focus on your event. And we have testimonials, information about how wonderful acupuncture is in terms of work, studies and research, all on the AOMday.org website.
I've seen a lot
Yes.
coming out in the last couple of years.
Yes.
A lot of schools putting it out, a lot
Yes.
of acupuncturists,
Yes.
their own clinics.
Yes.
Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine Day, it's a big day.
It's very big, and,
So.
and it depends. It's really a collaborative grassroots effort. So it really, schools, students, practitioners all need to get together to promote that day. Yes.
So let's move on. Let's ask, how is becoming a diplomat actually beneficial for the practitioner of the profession? You've talked a lot
Yes.
about it, and
Yes.
it helps them get to the point of, I know we said earlier on in
Yes.
the interview, it's not just letters after the name, but
Yes.
give me some examples as to what might that actually do for the professional just coming out of school.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we want to distinguish ourselves amongst the many practitioners that are getting in on the field of practicing acupuncture as a modality.
Right.
This is important. This is where we come in as NCCAOM National Board Certified Acupuncturists. We want you to wear that proudly. We want you to be able to designate that when you're meeting with healthcare practitioners. If you're working for a hospital, for example,
right.
many hospitals require NCCAOM certification because they understand those standards are necessary.
Mhm.
So that right there lets you know that, hospitals, cruise ships right now. I talked to the gentleman that actually is in charge of hiring licensed acupuncturists, and NCCAOM is a requirement there because the NCCAOM standard is something that employers can rely on, insurance companies can rely on, hospitals can rely on because of the process of ensuring entry-level competence. I want to talk a little bit about maintenance of certification too, because
Sure.
that's very important in terms of making sure that you keep up with your certification. Oftentimes people forget to do that, and then they come back and they realize they need it, and we don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
How do you actually monitor the individuals once they get their certification and become
Yes.
the diplomat? And then are they just off into the wilderness, or what happens?
No, it's very important that we work with our NCCAOM National Board Certified Acupuncturists to ensure their NCCAOM certification maintenance through our recertification process. I know that licensure is a separate process, and many states do require relicensure, but there's not a national standard in terms of all states requiring licensure through CEs. Some don't require any CEs, some require CEs, and some have their own program. So it's all over the place, which is where
Yes.
NCCAOM comes in to standardize all of that. We also, as part of our recertification, require safety and ethics, a separate safety and ethics course. We require CPR as well. This is all very important. This is, again, to let others know that we've met these 60 hours of continuing education coupled with the safety factor. Code of ethics, NCCAOM Code of Ethics is something I really want to talk about. Every single person, whether you're a student applying to whether you're a diplomat recertifying, must adhere to the Code of Ethics on all of the accompanying documents that really outlines professional conduct.
So
within
in
the field.
terms of how the different states are doing it differently,
Yes.
rather, like, what is some of the reasoning for that, and how are you trying to sort of
Right.
round them up and
Right.
make them the standard? Say we do want everyone
Right.
to be the diplomat, which means that
Right.
obviously they need to maintain it by doing the
Yes.
continuing education. But
Correct.
some states like DC, I'm
Right.
licensed in DC and
Yes.
in Virginia.
Right.
It's two very different states
They
in
are two
terms
very
of
different
the
states. Right.
requirements that are
Right.
needed there. So
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, we are proud of the fact that every single state has their own unique requirements, and this is important. We want them to be independent. We want them to have their different scopes and their different practice requirements. However, the common denominator is NCCAOM, and that's the NCCAOM exams. Almost all the states require NCCAOM examinations. There are a few states that are unregulated. There's 3 that are unregulated right now, and that is a little bit of a dangerous situation because you do attract people that are not licensed or anything that can move to that state, or people that are actually disciplined and they're under the radar. So that's the issue. And then there's some states that, like for example, there's some states that have their own unique requirements in terms of NCCAOM exams. Like Maryland, you can graduate from an ACOM accredited school or take the NCCAOM exam. So you have that particular nuance in that
Right.
state. So one of the important factors of NCCAOM is that we do bring the competence in terms of entry-level competence to all the states with the requirement of the passage of the exams. That's important. We also make sure that when someone is entering into the field, that they're free of disciplinary actions.
Absolutely.
That's
yeah,
very,
that's
very
a
important.
Major concern.
Right, and in a state like Virginia, for example, that requires full certification, if someone tries to move from a state like New York where they do not to Virginia, we will find that out and report that to the Board of Medicine Acupuncture Advisory, which regulates that state. This is where we come in with our code of ethics, and we have a professional ethics and disciplinary committee that oversees that, and that's very important. We're the only national organization that really works with all of the states to ensure compliance. So when you are in a state that does not require full certification, it's hard for us to monitor and work with the states for people that are not certified versus people that are certified.
Given
Yes.
there's a large percentage that are actually requiring some
Right.
level of
Yes.
certification,
Yes.
or something that it makes the
Yes.
qualified professional,
Yes.
and they've reached a certain level of like
Right.
CPR AED,
Right.
the safety requirements that are
Right.
needed that the public are concerned about.
Right.
So you monitor them,
Yes.
and then say, for example, there is disciplinary action that is taken.
Yes.
The recertification process that one goes through, or the
Right.
amount of time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So all of our diplomats, when they recertify, not only do they have to continue the 60 hours of continuing education, and I mentioned the safety ethics CPR, but they must report to us that any activity that's happened, whether it's been a criminal conviction, whether they've been, sued by, a patient, whether there's been a healthcare violation, where let's say they're a chiropractor and they got in trouble, we need to know all that. And we actually look at that when they're recertifying. And if there has been an infraction, we will investigate it. We report it to the state, and then we also exchange information with the state to ensure that compliance. That's very, very important. People forget about that role of NCCAOM, and that goes back to our mission. That's why recertification is important.
Yeah, and it's not, in my interpretation of that, it's not the NCCAOM wants to bring down the hammer on everyone.
No.
It's just monitoring for,
Yes.
obviously, the sake of the
Right.
public who are receiving our services.
Right.
But we as acupuncturists, we go to school knowing
Yes.
that we need to provide that level of
Right.
service. And if something does happen
Yes.
that may just be, unfortunate,
Right.
then there have to be certain steps that we go
Right.
through so that we regain the trust.
Right. Absolutely, and we have a very, our grounds for professional discipline and procedures for professional conduct, which you can find on our website, really explains all of that. We have our policies and procedures for individuals that find themselves in that situation. I know it's a scary situation, but we actually want you to report that information to us. We work with you. We have a very experienced committee that really evaluates every single case, and we almost always partner with the states on those activities. Yes.
And so, if recertification needs to happen because of a disciplinary
Yes.
action, that's one reason.
Yes.
But life will sometimes get in the way.
Yes.
You have kids, you're working in your clinic, it's
Yes.
thriving, your
Yes.
family is lovely, and everything is
Yes.
working out. But then you realize that, oh my gosh, it's 6 months past my due date.
Right.
I need to recertify, I've missed it. What happens in that situation?
We've actually set a whole process for individuals that find themselves. We understand life happens, emergencies happen. We have, first of all, what's called inactive status. If you find yourself that you're going to be entering a situation that's going to be difficult, whether it's an illness, emergency, you contact us, and we will put you in inactive status for 2 years. After that 2 years, then you can come back to lapsed. If you forget and you fall into lapse status, then you can call us, and it involves a small fee as well as additional CEU, PDA points, for you to come back. For example, if you lapse first year, you have to pay $50 plus 15 PDA points to come back to active status. And I just wanted to make a little announcement to you here for
Sure.
the first time, as my leadership is really evolving with NCCAOM, is we're really looking at the recertification process to make more improvements and really hear from you about that. And one of that has to do with reinstatement. After the 3 years of being lapsed, you are what's called terminated, which means you lose your certification. And right now you have to take an examination to come back. But we're really looking at that process to see that what our accreditation body, NCCAOM is accredited by NCCA. They're a separate accrediting body that accredits all of our programs, and we must adhere to them. We're working with them to ensure that our reinstatement process can be more streamlined and better fit to bring diplomats back. This is a very important initiative of ours as we look at that. We want you to come back. We want to adhere to our standards, but we want also to work with you to be NCCAOM certified again.
Yeah, so you're not pushing people out the door and locking it and saying you're not allowed
Right.
back in until you do
Right.
this. It's
Right.
You're trying to find a way to make it easier for them to get back in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. While maintaining our standards. Right.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Of course.
Absolutely. Yes.
And now having a certification, seeing that it's not going to lapse, or we're not
Yes.
going to run into any disciplinary issues. Now I know you mentioned earlier about the PDA CEUs.
Yes.
So you have this platform where
Yes.
people can search for different classes,
Yes.
different learning opportunities, conferences,
Yes.
Wherever the units themselves have been actually approved.
Yes.
What if someone eventually reaches a point, myself included, if I wanted to move forward and say, I want to offer this
Yes.
particular class
Yes.
or for this Saturday, 8 hours of training? What, like, how can I actually offer CEUs as
Absolutely.
an active
We have an excellent PDA, Professional Development Activity Provider Program, and we welcome providers to apply. We have a whole PDA staff that's ready to go to work with you on applying. We do have some policies and procedures, a handbook that you can download on our website that explains the whole procedures of becoming a provider. Once you have met those criteria and you become a provider, then you submit the courses, and those courses are approved through our PDA department. So we work with you on that. And there's a lot of opportunities there for you, because when you become a provider, then you're listed in our directory. We give you a special PDA approved, what we're calling a logo, and we're going to actually start doing digital badging soon.
Very nice. I saw the new one come
yes.
out a couple of years ago,
Right.
I think, with the NCCAOM,
Right.
but now there's one for PDA.
Right, and
Good.
that you can use that to showcase your courses and your providership with the NCCAOM. So we really do welcome those who are not NCCAOM PDA providers to contact us, and our staff will walk them through the process.
That's
Yes.
excellent. So we have a lot of different courses that
Yes.
you offer. We've talked about recertification. We've talked about the licensure aspect.
Yes.
Why states are different. So there is really a lot that the NCCAOM is doing to
Thank you.
not just offer the
Yes.
test.
Yes.
That costs a certain amount of money. I think
Yes.
it's like $300, but whatever it is.
Yes.
But you have to pay a fee to go to answer
Yes.
some questions in
Yes.
this really closed environment that's
Yes.
stressful to
Yes.
get there. So it's not just about that. Once you step through that
Right.
door, then you offer so many more things, such
You do.
as the continuing education.
Yes.
You offer the ability to start your own professional presence online,
Right.
the ability to communicate with the media.
Right.
And we're not going to touch on this in this interview. We're going to do it in our second one. So that's a
Sure.
key for all the viewers out there. We're going to have interview number 2, where we're going to talk about what the NCCAOM does for students.
Oh, fabulous.
And
I'm looking forward.
I'm also going to bring to you some questions
Sure.
that people might actually have, some real
Right.
questions that people want to ask the organization, ask you,
Yes.
because I assume we'll probably get some more from this interview.
Yes.
And that will be part 2. So,
Thank you.
Mina, I really appreciate you being
Thank you
here
so much,
for the
Justin.
first part of our interview, and
you.
thank you so much for taking the time. Everybody, this is Mina Larson, your new CEO of NCCAOM, and we look forward to the next time that we meet.
Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by My Mentor Medicine, an organization that is dedicated to helping people improve their lives by learning to empower themselves and take control of their own life. Any form of reproduction or distribution of this podcast is strictly prohibited. Should you have any questions on using this podcast or information that is contained within this podcast, please write to info@mymetromedicine.com.